My husband's daughter from his first marriage wanted to inherit his house according to the will, but in court, we uncovered the most terrifying truth. I'm 45, and I've been married to Michael, 50, for 10 years. We were both in our early 30s when we first met at a local art gallery. We were both admiring the same painting and started talking. It felt like immediate chemistry, an instant pull. He asked me out, and the more we learned about each other, the more it felt like I had known him my whole life. I was the oldest of 3 kids, and growing up, we never had much money. We got by, barely, and eating fast food once a year for birthdays was a luxury. My father taught us to work hard for everything in life. I studied relentlessly, got into college on my own, and worked part-time as a model to cover my expenses. By the time I graduated, I had zero student debt. By the time I met Michael, I was already climbing the ladder in my career, working as a junior attorney. Michael, on the other hand, grew up with significantly more stability. His father had a great job with a big salary and full benefits, so money had never been a problem in his household. His parents financed his entire education, and because of his father's connections, Michael got an internship that helped him build a strong career. He always insisted that he worked hard for everything, and he did. Even though we came from very different backgrounds, we shared the same passion for art and music, and that's what made us fall for each other. Michael has a daughter from his first marriage, Candace. She never accepted me, not from day one. She never showed me kindness, avoided conversations, and constantly acted cold, as if I were the reason her parents weren't together. Even though I met Michael after he divorced his ex-wife, I understood her feelings and tried to give her time. For context, Michael and his ex-wife Amelia were married for only 3 years. They met in college, married young, and after the wedding, everything spiraled. Amelia was a stay-at-home wife while Michael worked constantly. One day, he returned early from a business trip and found her in bed with his best friend, Tom. Michael lost his wife and best friend in one day. It destroyed him. The divorce was brutal. Amelia tried to fight for the house, even though it legally belonged to Michael. Then the battle shifted to custody of Candace. Because Amelia had cheated, the court awarded Michael the house and gave both parents joint custody. But Amelia's resentment only grew. Over the years, she manipulated Candace, poisoning her against Michael. Michael, however, chose not to tell Candace about her mother's affair. He wanted to protect her from pain. He told me everything early in our relationship. I appreciated his honesty. One day, he invited Candace to join us on a trip to Africa, hoping it would help us bond. I was optimistic, but it turned into a nightmare. Candace had constant angry outbursts. Anytime I walked close to Michael, she'd hurl insults, calling me a gold digger. Michael scolded her, but she just smirked, making it clear she had zero intention of letting me into their lives. We moved forward with our relationship anyway. After a whirlwind romance, we got married. It was a small ceremony with close friends and family. Neither Amelia nor Candace came, even though they were invited. Our marriage started beautifully. We traveled, we worked hard, we enjoyed life. Amelia stayed with Tom after the divorce. Candace lived in an apartment Michael bought for her, working as a social media manager. 3 years into our marriage, we had our son, Nick. I struggled through my pregnancy, and Candace made it worse. Whenever she visited without Michael around, she'd insult my appearance, calling me a fat cow and saying Michael would leave me. It hurt deeply. When I told Michael, he said Candace was no longer welcome in our home. They started meeting in cafes instead. Nick was born, and our happiness felt complete. I was determined to stay in my career, so we hired a nanny to help with childcare. But after Nick's birth, Candace's hostility escalated. At family gatherings, she'd provoke Nick, bully him until he cried, and ran to us. I could tolerate insults directed at me, but not at my child. I banned her from our home. Now to the main point. As we got older, we realized the importance of planning ahead. We decided to write our wills. Since Michael had already purchased an apartment for Candace, he left our family home to me and our son. The remainder of his assets, money, and his personal savings went to Candace. I had my own assets as well, which I planned to leave to Nick. We felt this arrangement was fair and ensured Nick's future. When Amelia and Candace found out about the will, all hell broke loose. I don't know whether Michael told them or his parents did, but they were furious. Amelia called Michael, demanding that the house be left to her and Candace because she was his first wife. Michael refused. He reminded her that he had always supported Candace, paid child support, funded her education, paid for her apartment. He said he would always ensure her financial stability, but the house stayed with me and our son. Amelia then sent me a long abusive message, calling me every insult imaginable. Michael told me not to answer and blocked her. The next day, Candace showed up at our door. She demanded that Nick and I give up the house, because as Michael's first child, she was the rightful heir. Michael calmly repeated what he had already told her. She then demanded I make the right decision. I told her I supported my husband's choices, which enraged her further. She threatened to sue me, and she did. A few weeks later, I received a court summons. Amelia and Candace filed a lawsuit claiming I'd manipulated Michael into giving me the house. Our lawyer reassured us they had no legal grounds, but I was still anxious, especially because I didn't want Nick dragged into the drama. As the trial approached, Amelia's lawyer used every dirty tactic imaginable, trying to dig into our past to discredit us. Then, unexpectedly, Tom contacted us. He wanted to talk. Michael didn't want to see him, but I convinced him maybe it would help our case. What Tom confessed shocked us to the core. He and Amelia had been having an affair long before she got pregnant with Candace. When Amelia became pregnant, she told Tom she believed the child was his, not Michael's. She stayed with Michael for financial reasons. Tom begged her to tell the truth, but Michael sat motionless. I was boiling with rage. How could she hide this for decades? How could she still claim that we gave the information to our lawyer, who said we'd need DNA proof? So we invited Candace for dinner and collected her glass for a DNA. When the test came back, it confirmed it. Candace was Tom's. I felt relief, but also deep sorrow for Michael, whose world in court I testified. I described the emotional abuse from Amelia and Candace. We submitted screenshots, evidence, and finally, the DNA. The jury saw everything. Amelia went pale. Candace looked like her universe. They had no legal claim to the verdict. The house stays with us. Candace and Amelia have no rights to after the trial. Reactions were mixed. Some people said it was cruel to reveal the truth so publicly, but we didn't drag anyone to court. They did. We defended Update 1. 3 days later, Candace had no idea she wasn't Michael's biological daughter. Her shock in court was Michael, however, was crushed. He barely ate or slept. I scheduled therapy for him. He started next. Update 2. 1 month later, Michael was slowly healing. Then Candace reached. She apologized. She said she had hated me for years, believing I had stolen her father. When she learned the truth about Amelia, she realized her entire life had been built on she begged Michael not to leave her. He told her he would always be her father. She apologized to me too, but I needed Update 3. 3 months later, Amelia showed up at our door. Tom had kicked her out. She demanded we convince Candace to let her move into the apartment. Michael refused. Candace refused too. She was done with her mother. Now we're planning to sell our house and move to another state. We want to start over, away from the toxicity.